Good day, everyone. Welcome to Pens and Tea. My name is Carrie, and today is the third installment in the Wancher Dream Pen collection, if you will. Can you tell this is the third one in a row that I'm filming? So there are individual reviews of all of these pens. So their original Dream Pen Tamanaki finish. Their second one that I've done, this is like a matte Urushi with like gold filigree in here. And then these two, of course, are the ones that I just did. They're Wancher Dream Pen Bokashi Urushi in Sunrise and Solar Eclipse finishes. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because specifically with these two, like I said, I've done ones of these, but these two, when they were sent to me, I asked them specifically if I could get one with a gold nib and ebonite feed, one with a plastic feed and steel nib, so that I could compare the two for you guys, tell you is the price worth it to get the extra ebonite feed and gold nib versus the plastic feed and steel nib. Because there's, like I said, a pretty steep difference. And I mean, I'm gonna spoil it for you, but it's worth it. Yeah, totally. Okay, a little bit of a backstory, if you will. The ebonite feed is supposedly allows you to have a wetter writing experience. Supposedly, it's easier for the ink to flow from the converter through the feed and then obviously onto your nib and onto the paper. It's, again, supposedly gives you a wetter writer, a more consistent writer than a plastic feed, which slows everything down. I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you why specifically that material is better than plastic. I don't know. If there's any scientists in the comment section down below, let me know why. But don't know. Gold nibs versus steel nibs, obviously, for the most part, they're a little bit softer. So you get a little bit more of like a spring while you write, sort of like, you know, a shock absorber on your car, where you just get a bit of a smoother feel. Not always. Some gold nibs are very, very stiff, like the platinum gold nibs, for example. Those are pretty darn stiff, but again, supposedly. So the ebonite feed, I believe, costs an extra $50. The nib, the gold nib, I believe is an extra about $130. If I'm wrong, they'll be down here. Versus the standard steel and plastic feed, which would come with the pen ordinarily. So those are the claims. Now, in actual use, do they actually align with that? Yes. Yes, they do, very much so. So in these two pens that I've also done, the one that I purchased here from the Kickstarter, I paid for the red ebonite feed and the gold nib. This one is a fine gold nib. The one that was sent to me from Wancher from these guys is a medium gold nib. But same like nib, same feed kind of thing, just fine versus medium. And then this one that was sent to me is a steel nib and is also a medium with a plastic feed. Whereas the one that got sent to me here, so many unscrewing, is a fine nib with a plastic feed. So I was really, really curious, and you'll see when I get them out to write for you in a second, that there is a stark difference. Like, it is night and day. The dry, like the steel nib, spoiler, really, really dry, nice and smooth, but super, super dry. It is a little drier in this than the steel nib that I have on this pen. Now, granted, this is a medium, whereas this one's a fine. In my experience with everything else, the difference from a fine to a medium shouldn't be as stark as it is between these two. So I think this steel nib here is a little drier than the average steel nib with plastic feed that you would get from these guys. It is just a Yovo nib after all, and feed as well. So this is on the drier side than it should be, I think. But the experience with the gold nib and Ebonite feed is the same experience that I have with this one that I've had for years now. So it's pretty darn accurate. And yeah, the difference is incredible. The ink flow on the Ebonite feed is far superior than the plastic. Like, again, night and day. So I highly recommend investing in an Ebonite feed. I don't think the gold nib over the steel nib makes a huge difference. I think it's all the feed. The next pen I get, maybe I will ask for an Ebonite feed but a steel nib to do a comparison with that one, because I think it's really the feed, not the nib, that is giving you that extra flow. And for somebody like myself who really likes like fire hoses of pens, it makes a huge difference. So highly recommend at least investing the extra $50 into the Ebonite feed. But I'm gonna stop rambling and let's get into the writing sample. Okay, so quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. This is the Wancher red Ebonite and 18 karat medium gold nib. And the ink for today is Tatcha Benettucci, or however you want to pronounce that. I don't know. So this nib and feed combination is excellent. As you can tell here, in printing, it is very wet. In cursive writing, it is pretty much just as wet. You just don't get the same pooling because you're not constantly picking up your nib and putting it back down. You can kind of drag it out. This ink isn't crazy susceptible to shading. You do get some, but because this is a pretty wet writer, you don't get like loads and loads of shading. But I mean, as you can tell, it puts down a nice patch of ink. As far as line variation goes, you can definitely get a little bit. It's a nice responsive nib, and I like that a lot. Clearly, you can tell it definitely puts down a large amount of ink, which for me is what I want. I like a very wet writer. Reverse handles like a champ. It's a little bit on the scratchy side, but you will have no problem with it. It'll probably take it down to a fine from the medium. No problems with hard starts or skipping or anything like that. I have noticed if you're writing like a full page, every once in a while it will get a little bit drier for like, you know, a couple sentences, and then it'll kick back in. And it's probably just because when you do like write quickly, the feed does have to play catch up a little bit. But honestly, like the gold nib and the Ebonite feed makes a huge difference. Okay, so quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. This is the Wancher steel fine nib with a plastic feed, whereas this, and the ink is Tatcha Benettucci. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This is the medium gold with Ebonite, and you can tell a stark difference between the two. This is very dry by comparison. Honestly, even by comparison to a regular steel nib, I'd say that this is on the dry side, which I personally do not like. Some people don't mind it. I do not like it at all. Because it is so dry, you do feel a drag on the page. It's not scratchy, it is smooth, but you feel that resistance, which I don't like. I know some people do because it gives them more control, but not for me. Reverse. You can, again, it's not totally scratchy. You can go from a fine to an extra fine, but it is super dry. Oh, it cut out there. No hard starts or skips, just like the gold one. As you can tell, it keeps up fine. It's just a lot drier. I don't like the way that it feels. Personally, I would prefer the Ebonite feed and the gold nib. Otherwise, what I would do to this nib is I would open up the tines a little bit and just increase the flow. Because other than that, it's pretty good. But yeah, it's just really on the dry side for my liking. Would I still recommend the pen? Yes, I would, because I know a lot of people do like this style. They like it to be drier. They don't want a really wet flowing pen. And I mean, it is significantly cheaper with a plastic feed and a steel nib. So if you can do a little bit of tuning yourself to adjust the flow if need be, then I think it's definitely a cost saver rather than going to the gold nib with the Ebonite feed. But either way, there are lots of options out there. It's just totally up to you. Hello! I should mute my show so that I don't get copyright protection. This is Editing Carrie coming to you because for whatever reason, the clip that I filmed for the conclusion of this video, something happened to it. I don't know where it went. So just real quick, essentially what I said was the decision's up to you. I personally think that the Ebonite feed is far superior to the plastic, especially when set with a gold nib. Sorry, Parker is attacking her grass. But it's up to you. I mean, for an additional $50 for the feed, I would say it's more than worth it, especially if you like a wetter flow. But ultimately it comes down to your guys' preference. So you can definitely tell the difference between the two. But who am I to tell you what to do, you know? You're like, duh, this is why I watch your videos. But let me know in the comment section down below. Have you had any experience with Ebonite feeds before? Do you agree, not agree? Who knows? Yeah, let me know. And guys, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up button. If you liked it and haven't yet done so already, do hit that subscribe button. New videos come out every Monday and Friday, and the occasional Q&A on Tuesday. Yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.